It is Sunday. It is needle felting day. We should be live here. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. For those that are new here, we are needle felting along with Bob Ross's Joy of Painting tutorials from season 3. We are on the last episode of season 3, and we're gonna pop the link into chat to the original tutorial for anyone that wants to see it in full without interruptions, without being muted, because I have it muted and we have it paused most of the time because we needle felt much slower than Bob paints, much slower. So we're gonna finish getting set up here so we can get going here. Alright, got some scissors just in case we need them. So I really do think the thicker felt helped because we're starting to bow out here already. I'm hoping that when we get this part in, it won't be quite so weird there, but we'll see what happens. I didn't want to get rid of the thinner felt because we're still going to be using that. Pop our needle out. This needle's done us very well. Get our taupey color here for our mountains now. So when we last left off, we were working on our mountain guys. We had gotten the snow in on the light side of the mountain. And today we're going to be picking back up with that. And we're going to be working on the shadow side of that particular mountain guy. So I'm going to turn us sideways here just so I can see a little bit better. Get a little bit of water. You don't have to roll your fluff if you don't want to. It's just something that I started doing and I like how it behaves when I do that. So now gonna just work on stabbing in our excuse me, our mountain color for this side. And I'm gonna try to follow the angles here. You okay?
Oh yeah, I thought I heard mom knocking.
No. Alright. And we have our finger protectors on. And we'll see how this goes. I'm a little nervous to see how the shadow side's gonna go in here. But we will see what happens. It's about all we can do. So we finished our flamingo painting yesterday. I still need to seal that guy. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a brush on sealer yet or if I'm gonna spray him. That I haven't made up my mind about yet. Kind of waiting to see how that one plays out and how much brush on sealer I still have. Because I might save that for something else. I don't know yet. We'll see. So we are using the color taupe from Big Twist Value. Acrylic yarn from Joann's. I believe it's considered their in-house label. Don't know if that will matter too much, because I guess it depends on if they close down or what. We may have to find another yarn supplier. Might go to Michael's next, or I'll look back at Paintbox and see who's having a yarn sale the next time I need yarn. Good time to get yarn on prices is around Black Friday. Some of the websites will do a sale a little bit early. Sometimes some websites will do sales right after the New Year, like right around New Year's Day. Depends on the site, the company. But I've managed to get some decent deals. I don't want to order from Joann's again, though. I'm sorry, Joann's. Your yarn does what I need it to do, but I'm not a fan of how you ship stuff. I did not enjoy my shipment coming from all over the country the one time I ordered it. The same shipment broken up into about 5 different shipments coming from, it looked to be different stores. Not even like different warehouses. It looked like it was coming from different store locations. I was like, this seems unnecessary, but okay. And the last time they processed half my order and shipped it and just said the other half was delayed. And I almost, it took like 3 weeks before I got the second half of my order. I was not happy. I'm like, hello? Where's my shit? So, I enjoy ordering from Lovecrafts more. At least everything came in one shipment. Oh, you know what? Let's do the bigger piece down this end. I haven't ordered yarn from Michael's yet. I've only ordered canvas from them so far. And that came fine. They sent me the wrong pens I ordered, but I don't know if they were out of the other ones and just sent me a substitute, or if somebody grabbed the wrong pen. I haven't tried them yet, so I don't know if it's gonna work out, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Is there a dog behind me? Husband? Is there a dog behind me?
Yes. No, buddy. I just took you out.
Sweetie, it's not time yet.
I just took you out. It's been less than an hour. Come on.
Mr. Momos, it's not time yet. So hope everybody's having a good day. Hope your weekend's been going well. So again, we are just working on getting our shadow side of our mountain tapped into here. We gotta put the mountain base color in first before we put the shadow shade in. So that is what we are working on currently. We're using a small gauge needle. I don't know the number on it. My kit did not come with numbers on the needles. It just said S, M, and L. So this is S. I tried to find the kit again on Amazon to see if they had a number in the fine print somewhere for what size it was. I couldn't find it, so I know a lot of people prefer to use the multi-needle. I actually don't. I know it takes a little bit longer with the single needle, but it doesn't make my arm as tired. The multi-needle really takes a lot out of my arm. And then I found that I was having to stab at stuff more because the sections that I wanted attached, it seemed to be missing. So I was like, I don't know. I just don't think I like that multi-needle, and that's fine. No one says you have to use the multi-needle. It's all about preference. I did get some more editing done on episode 11 last night, so that was exciting. All I have to do now is dump in the audio on it, and we'll be in business. And that one will probably go up this week, in this week's batch of YouTube stuff. More than likely. Because we do have game night with my mom tonight, I think, but I don't think it'll take me too long to put in an hour and a half of audio. Sorry. See if I can find my allergy medicine here. My voice is doing a number on me here. They did say it was going to be a high pollen day. So that's exciting. Episode 11's almost done. And then I have to do some editing on stuff I need for while we're away. Hopefully we do end up going away. There's some hurricanes. Well, they're not hurricanes yet. There's some activity starting to gear up in the tropics again, and one of them, whatever it ends up being, looks like it might go right over the Keys, and I'm like, no. Don't you dare. We still have a little bit of time, but I'd like it to, pick up the pace and get where it's going. So they can do any repairs that are needed before we get there. It's one of the things that sucks about having a event that you're trying to celebrate during hurricane season. It's kind of hard to do what you want to celebrate. Because the weather can be a factor for where we're going. Which is one of the reasons why we got married in early June. Because we got married in the Keys, and I was like, well, look, if we attempt this super early in hurricane season, maybe we'll be okay. So these are my finger protectors to help me from stabbing myself too badly. I try to keep those fingers, if I have to have a finger near the stabbing sharp thing, I try to keep those ones as the ones potentially in the line of fire. Or at the very least, shielding the other fingers. If I need a little more dexterity than I get without them on. These needles are very sharp. They have little notches cut into them to grab the fiber on the surface and shove it down in between the other layers to weave them together. This is not a toy. It is a tool. I would never, ever, ever suggest a young person be allowed to do this unless they have the maturity and the supervision to mess with this. I mean, probably like same level as a wood burner. Yes, this doesn't get hot, but it's still equally as mature-minded needed to operate it, I think. Alright, just brushing the back down there. We're getting that filled in pretty good. This isn't pulling in like I want it to. This side's like all kind of weird. The top side doesn't matter too much. Our edges, though, those matter. We can clean them up a little bit, but we'll have to see how the rest of it goes. But I'm really missing our thick felt that we used the last time. Quite a bit. Alright. Let's see if you guys can see there. Okay. So I'm also hoping to get, excuse me, I'm also hoping to get the, that flamingo painting sealed this week. That would be most helpful. It's been so buggy outside though, I'm probably gonna have to brush seal it in the house. Because grasshopper season has descended upon us now. And those guys are pretty much everywhere outside. They're all over our porch, and we've also got quite a good amount of spider action happening out there as well. So I keep my finger on the tail, like I'm not pushing down, I just have it resting. Because if I don't, then you'll see the needle will just grab as much as it desires and just start ripping everything on in where it's not necessarily needed. So that's all that I'm doing there. Just trying to slow down how much fluff our needle is grabbing at any one given time. When I'm trying to fill in a specific spot. Now when you're using the fabric mats like I have here, always a good idea to lift up off of the mat every so often. If you don't, you will more than likely become attached to your mat, and it's going to take some patience and very gentle hands to attempt to release it from your mat. So keep that in mind. How do you know that? Experience. And it's something I did not see very many people mention before until I had it happen to me, and I was like, oh. If you're using the foam mats, it probably doesn't matter quite so much, because the foam probably has a bit more give to it. I don't know. I've not really used the foam mats strictly. But I have used these mats. These mats are a little bit quieter, and you get a little bit more life out of them. They're a little more expensive, but expensive. They were $30. I don't know what you consider expensive. For me, that was expensive. But we've gotten almost a year out of this mat. So, you know what? I'll take that. Our other one we got a little over a year out of before it got so domed up in the middle that I couldn't really use it anymore. It was turning into a portable crater that we had. This one's, it's gotten a little lumpy on this side just from us like pulling up, but it's not so bad. It's still usable, and I've been able to somewhat clean the mat. If you take like a razor and just gently run it over the top, you can get some of the extra fluff off. You probably won't get all of it, but you can get some of it. And I mean, you know, some of that's still there from the past projects that we've done. And I still have some red on the back from when we were working on a different one. I mean, it's gonna get in there. It is. It's just kind of the way it goes. Okay. So, kind of making our mountain guy here. First one in the mountain range. So this was our light side. It has our white snow on it. And this side, we're gonna have our blue shadows. So I'm gonna actually trim this tail off because we're gonna have an easier go of it without that there. I'm not gonna get rid of it, just hold on to it for a second. And then this guy, just gonna kind of fold him over on himself here. And we will pop that guy into place. And we'll have just that little tiny corner right there that we'll need to fill in with our mountain color. And you can really use whatever mountain color you want. Bob used a bit of a darker color. Well, Steve did. I don't know. This was just the color I decided to go with. I hadn't used this color very much. And I had quite a bit of it, so I was like, ah, what the hell. Why not? Right, we need just a little bit more. To fill in. This is just a little bit of water that I'm grabbing, that I'm putting on my hand. Regular old water, nothing special, nothing fancy. Sometimes it helps get a little bit more friction on my hands to bring the fibers together a bit more, so they're not kind of all willy-nilly all over the place. Now, I am using acrylic yarn. You do not have to use acrylic yarn. This is just what I am using. Traditionally, people use roving, wool roving. Some people have wool allergies. I don't have a wool allergy that I'm aware of, but roving can get a little pricey, and I was having trouble finding it in the colors that I needed, or shall I say wanted. I could have gotten just white and dyed it. This is true. However, didn't really have the space to dye and dry because my cats would have been into it. I didn't really have a secure location that they couldn't get to do that. I did think about it, and then I was like, well, how many colors do I want for this? How many packets of dye does that equate down to? And I was like, oh boy, that's gonna get real pricey too. So I had seen people say that you could use acrylic yarn, and I looked into it a bit further and found out how they were doing it, and I was like, yeah, okay, let's do that. Hang on. I need my bucket. My kitty litter bucket of yarn. There we go. I need that color too. I mean, I need all of the colors, but those colors we don't need just yet. Okay. Alright, so we're using taupe for our mountain, white for the light side, and sky blue for our shadow. See, the acrylic yarn does take a little bit more prep work for it, but the time to do the prep work was worth it for the money that I saved. So I'm all for that. Alright. Now we're gonna do this little by little, because we want this light and airy. Like, we want... You can't even see that. Let me see. Okay. Can kind of see it on there. It's such a light blue that it almost looks white. Oh, I might need a darker blue. That's the only trouble with working out the colors in colored pencil. Sometimes you forget. See, like when this shade is bunched up, it's definitely a light blue, but we're not going to have him bunched up. He's going to be stretched out. And if it still looks white stretched out, that's not going to help us. Let's see, this color I was saving for something else, but let me see, do you also look white? Because if you do, I'm gonna have to grab our sky color. Yeah? Yeah, you do. Okay. Huh. Okay, well, I need to use you for something else. So... for shizzle. Okay. We may have to do a change of plans here. So I can either grab our sky color, or I can grab a purple. Purple might work. I don't know if the sky color would be weird, but purple might be weird. Let me think through this for a second. Alright. Let me get up here. Okay, so that means our options are limited. I don't know if I really want to do purple though. I mean, people do use purple for shadows, but I don't know if I want to do that here. I mean, that would be the only purple in this piece. So that could be slightly problematic. Alright, well, we're gonna see how this goes. Okay. Like, I could see the shade working, I just wasn't quite so sure. If that's how I wanted to handle it. So when you've got your fluff stretched out and thinned out a bit, it's gonna take a little bit extra to get it all stabbed in here. Alright, this might work. And some of it, if it's real thin, may kind of seem like it melts into the layer you're putting it on, where you can't really see it. That's okay. That's why we're going slow with this, so we don't get too carried away, because we want to see the mountain underneath of it. Number one. And going little bits at a time will also keep us from overdoing it, so that the side doesn't just become blue, like solid blue. Because we want this to be our snow just on the shadowy side of it. So we want to see the mountain poking through. Kind of like how Bob and Steve grab their little roll of paint on the knife and just slightly, ever so lightly, kind of skim down the sides, wanting the paint, whether it's the shadow color or the light color, to break, to have the holes to be scuffy. Alright, it's a little bit harder to do with the fiber. A little bit. But once you kind of get the hang of it and the idea of it. Now we have painted following along with Bob Ross's tutorials in the past. So we've done this before with paint. That might be helping us here, maybe. Get the idea of what we need to do. And, you know, practice. Practice also helps. So you can kind of see the shadowy side of that coming in, starting to. And you can go as shadowed as you want. Sorry, I keep turning it, but it's easier for me to see it this way. That's how we're gonna do it. And, you know, just take your time with it. You don't need to speed demon through it. This is not a super fast medium. And there's no awards for getting it done in X amount of time, so take your time, have fun with it. Like, we're not using anything super specialized. The craft stores are starting to carry some more needle felting supplies, I've seen. Even if it's online, I've still been seeing them, so you don't have to go anywhere special. I mean, I got my toolkit from Amazon, so I think it's starting to try to make a comeback here. And I like this medium. I do. I like painting also. This medium is very different from painting. But I can work as slow as I want on this and not worry about my paint drying out on me. So that's fun. So I'm not putting any white on this side, since this is our shadowy side. I might actually come back in and add a little bit more white to that light side. Because our edge is a little weak there. Or I might just add some more blue on it and change the edge. We can do that. Just have to be sure that's what we want to do. It's easier to add than take away. You can take away on this if you think you messed something up, but it's a little bit more difficult. Not like paint where you can just like paint over it. I mean, you could probably just add more fluff over it to fix it and like redo it, but it's either that or you try to get like a seam ripper and carefully, or like a needle to try to pull up the fiber. Now down in here we're gonna have some snow and some trees that will end up covering the bottom of our mountains here, so I'm not gonna be too worried about the very bottom of these guys just right now. So if we don't hit the very bottom, at the very, very bottom edge, it should be fine. I'm gonna carefully snip that little bit that we had remaining there. And just come back in and give everybody a good tap. Figure out if I want to add a little bit more, and I think I do. So this is going to be very much a fuss until you're happy sort of scenario. Depends on how much snow you want on your mountains. Even if you want them heavily snow covered, I would still try to leave a little bit of your mountain color poking through, just so they don't look like solid colored triangles. Unless that's what you're going for. If you want the solid colored triangles, then okay. That's fine. Alright, so it's not too bad. Like, I kind of want a little bit more on there, I think. But, I don't know, maybe we leave that be. And we start to work on the next one. And then when we get all of them in, then we'll reevaluate, perhaps. That would be the better way to go. Alright. So, gonna work on the next guy in line here. And I'm gonna come into the blue just a little bit, the blue of our sky, just to try to make sure we don't have any weird seams happening here where the two colors are gonna meet up. Tend to try to overlap my colors a little bit to prevent that. And the pen lines that we put in here were just, you know, guidelines. It wasn't it has to be within these lines. We've changed our minds before and decided that once we got going, oh, that angle just, it doesn't work. Or, oh wait, we need to adjust this. I completely forgot about this. Kind of situations. Trying to make sure I don't get too carried away here. In hindsight, I probably should have did this one first before we did this one, but we're here now, so. And that's just the way that's gonna be. And I mean, we can always come back and fix this with a little bit more pop of snow on the edge if we need it. Like, that's fine. So you can see our mountains starting to fill in on the back side. Not that that matters so much, but I just think it's neat watching it come to life on both sides. Now, the back side will be a lot more distorted, but it's still kind of fun. Alright, let me check something real quick here. Okay. So now, just gonna kind of keep working our edge of where we want the light side and the shadow side to be. And you don't necessarily have to do it that way. If you just want to do your entire mountain shape first, and then figure out where your light's gonna sit and where your shadows are gonna be, and just kind of wing it, that's fine too. It just helps me a little bit keep track of what I need to put in here, so I don't get ahead of myself and forget to do something. Because it's me, and it's easy for me to come back and forget to do the things. Now, Bob has already had Steve, this episode's so strange, put the water in. We have not done that yet. We're not there yet. It's gonna be easier for us to do the water when we get there. Just so we don't have too much bunching and loose felt, because this is tight up in here because we did our sky. This is loose down in here because we haven't touched it yet. So if we put the water in now, we're gonna have all these loose bits around. So it's just easier to work our way down. We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll just be getting there at a different speed. And that's okay. Sometimes, to follow along with Bob and still have it come out in a way that we want to, we're gonna have to jump around a little bit. Sometimes we'll have to come back to something. And we kind of need to look at what the finished color for what he's trying to do looks like, because while you can blend some colors together... Did you ever take him out last time?
No. About doing it.
Okay. Hi, buddy. Well, you can blend paint together and get a different color while you're on the canvas. You can kind of blend some fibers together, but when you go to stab it back in, if you're stabbing the whole thing down, it doesn't quite work that way. So I tend to try to see what color... Screen door. That spring's not been happy lately in that door. That's what that was, sorry. Yeah, so I like to look at what the finished color he's trying to come up with and then figure it out from there. I had a gap forming between these two mountains. I could see our base color felt, or what looked to be our base color felt, starting to shine through there. So I'm just gonna come back in with a little bit more fluff and put that over it. And that'll happen sometimes, I mean, not a big deal, just grab some more fluff and fix it. I'd rather it happened now, where I have an easier time of fixing it, And yeah, I'm kind of going against how we were filling in, but that's okay. Probably won't be that noticeable once we start getting our shading in on top of it. I don't know if that's that particular spot on my mat or if it's our, okay, it's our felt. I've got a couple sections that have been a little fussy about stabbing into it. Happens. This piece has had a couple particularly crunchy spots on it. So I do have a video on the YouTube channel breaking down the different ways that people prep the acrylic yarn. Basically, you're going to snip some stuff, snip some lengths, small lengths. You want to work small when you're fluffing, just to keep any knots and tangles from happening. At least there's two different ways. Some people do longer lengths and they kind of tuck the tails through a piece of cardboard and brush it on top of a piece of cardboard. That's real scritchy, like real scritchy. So if your ears are sensitive to noise, you might want to do the holding it in your hand method. Just watch your fingers, because the brush that you use to brush the yarn out with is a little sharp. But I find that it's a lot easier on my ears to do the handhold method than doing it on top of cardboard. Some people will use it on top of a self-healing cutting mat. I don't have one of those currently, and I still find it easier just to hold it, personally. Now, if you're having trouble stabbing into a particular section of your felt, go a little bit slower. And if it really doesn't want to go, then move your needle over slightly and try a spot next to it. Because if you try to force the needle through there, it's just gonna snap the needle. Nobody wants a snapped needle. Snapped needles are no fun, especially when you're trying to find the piece that snapped off. And as you start to do this, you'll definitely be able to feel the difference between a fussy area and a not fussy area. It's hard to describe, but like here, needle's going in just fine. Smooth, no issues. This, for some reason, this section over here could be the thickness of the fluff over there. Could just be the way that those fibers were made on the base felt. Don't know. The craft felt that we're using was made with recycled plastic bottles in it. don't know if that has anything to do with it. It could just be the thickness of our fluff, or the way that we rolled the fluff there. Maybe it was a little thicker than it wanted. It could be anything. Alright. Now, I don't have stream avatars running today, sorry guys. We still have to, husband and I still have to sit down and think about what else we want to add to it. We were talking about adding hats and stuff. We just haven't gotten around to it. But I don't run it on art days. I only run it on gaming days, and that's because I use our live stream footage to make speed felt versions of our needle felting projects and our painting projects a lot of the times. So I will download it, time lapse it, and then put it back up, because some people want to see the finished product in one video and not wait, or not want to watch each individual session. And that's fine, I get that. You know, that's fair. Especially when it takes us, you know, sometimes 10 different sessions to finish, depending on the project. Some have taken us longer. Kind of depends on the particular tutorial that we were following along with. Some of them are a little more involved. Yes, they still only took Bob a half an hour, but Bob was also painting them very fast. And sometimes, if you watch close enough, and nothing against Bob, he was on time constraints, and I think you get so muscle memoried into doing stuff when you get to be the level that he was at, that you don't really stop and think about what you're doing to tell people. You just do it. So if you watch on some of his tutorials, he's doing stuff and he's talking about something else completely unrelated. And like he'll be talking about Peapod or making up a story or something, but he didn't say what he was doing. And you're like, wait, what color was that? What did you just do? So it doesn't happen often, but I did notice it a few times. I was like, oh, well, that doesn't help me, Bob. Alright. So I try to look at what he's done instead of what he's saying. Sometimes that helps a little bit. Just grabbing a little bit of white. But, you know, some of them are a little more complicated. Some of them we have to spend a little bit more time on. Alright, I'm just kind of coming back in, adding a bit more lighter snow to this side, because we lost a little bit of it when we were doing that seam there. So we can come back and make an adjustment, that's fine. It doesn't say anywhere that we can't. And I was kind of thinking it looked a little little empty over here. Anyhow. So, really small bits. Really small bits. How the hell? Really? Okay. I somehow managed to knot that. That's the first time I've done that. So like really want to get in there and loosen up your strands. I know my hand's in the way. Just trying to beef up our snow a little bit. On our highlighted side. Just a little. And I think I might add just a little bit more on this inside section here. I try to go little bit, and build up the little bits, because it's real easy to overdo this. Definitely want to work my way up slower in here. I'm just feeling to see if I have any loose ends. When you're working with the little wispy bits, sometimes it's easier to touch it. And if you like move your finger back and forth, sometimes you can see fluff move, or you can feel it move. And if that's the case, just go back and give it another little stabby stab. Just a little bit more, I think. This will probably be the last bit. Probably. Let's see what it looks like before we are like, oh yeah, that's enough. I mean, we don't want it to be solid white. We still want our mountain color shining through. Okay. Let's see. How we looking? Alright, that's not so bad. That's not so bad at all. Alright. So, this is our shadow side. We're going to grab some of our blue. Now remember, we ended up having to change to our sky color blue. So this is our cornflower. Because the sky blue was a little too white. And I needed something a little bit darker, because I forgot that when I spread out the sky blue, it just looks white until you start stabbing and compacting it in on itself. And for this, I need something that's going to be a little bit more noticeable. Not necessarily more dramatic, but we need it to do what we need it to do, right? So traditionally you're supposed to come straight up and down, right? If you come in on an angle, you can kind of, like a, not like deep angle, but like not like a deep, how to word this, not like a deep punch, like a surface kind of punch at an angle, or just below the surface. You can kind of slide your fluff around a little bit if you've got it in just slightly the wrong spot. I think that was the sound of the squirrel jumping on the window. We have chicken wire on some of our windows. The windows that we opened for the cats, or did open for the cats. Our cats are bastards and like to dig through the screens to get to the birds and stuff outside. So we do that on the windows that we tend to open for them. So they can't get out if they mess with the screen or rip the screen before we realize it, because we're on a busy road. We've got a bird feeder attached to said chicken wire on one of our windows, and so we've had live cat TV now that the birds have figured it out that it's there, and one of our squirrels have also figured out that it is there, and they are leaping either from the ground or from a small something that's trying to grow that we really need to take down, and grabbing onto the chicken wire, and then he's climbing up onto the bird feeder and climbing into the bird feeder entirely, and he takes up almost the entire bit of room on the inside of it so he can sit in there and eat the sunflowers. I'm like, really? Sunflower seeds, excuse me. I'm like, Mr. Squirrel or Mrs. Squirrel, what are you doing? The cats have been loving live cat TV, or at the very least Little has. She sounds like Momo barking distantly outside with the noises that she makes when she's sitting there watching the squirrel and the birds. And I thought I was crazy thinking that, and then the husband finally heard her make the noise the other day, and he goes, it sounded like one of the dogs barking in the other room. I was like, yeah, didn't it? So that was pretty wild. Alright, so this is just our snow shadow color that we are working in here carefully. So hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday, or at least it's Sunday here. Hope you're enjoying your day or evening or whatever it happens to be for you. We ended up picking up 1 month of Peacock so I can watch the Olympic coverage, because there's some sports that I like to watch. I don't normally get the opportunity to. So it was fun. Last night while I was editing, I got to listen/watch day one of the 3-day equestrian eventing, which is dressage, a shortened version of dressage, cross country, and show jumping. So that's kind of fun. I will probably I will probably go back and watch from the beginning the gymnastics stuff tonight while I'm doing some more editing. And then we'll have to see what else we need to catch up on. I think I need to catch up on some swimming, maybe. We'll have a lot of time on Tuesday. Well, I don't know how much time I'm gonna have, actually, because I have to record some stuff on Tuesday. So hang on, I'm gonna turn it this way just so I can see this a little bit easier. I want to come up over my pen line a bit here. And we'll tap this in. Again, I just have my finger just barely normal hand weight pressure resting on that little bit of a tail, because if I don't, our needle's just gonna grab all of those loose fibers and be like, party over here, and it's gonna use more than we need in that particular spot before I was ready for it. Alright, so this is one of our further back mountainy guys. Okay. Trying to see where I was at there. Now, my pen lines are my guidelines. They are not the gospel. We can go over them. We can make adjustments. It's not a big deal. I need guidelines when I'm doing this, because I have found that I will get carried away with stuff and the sizing of things, and then I start to get towards the bottom and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't leave myself enough room. So that's not looking too bad on camera. That actually looks pretty good. Alright, so we're gonna finish filling in that spot. Pretty happy with how that first mountain bit's turning out. Again, you don't have to roll the fluff. I think that's just a weirdness that I've been doing. I would suggest, maybe if you don't have a wool allergy, getting like a starter kit to see if this is something you really want to do before you go whole ham on the different yarn colors and stuff. We've been slowly adding to our yarn color collection since I've started doing this, and I did start out using like a mini sample bit of roving, just kind of working on smaller projects just to make sure you know, this was something I definitely did want to pursue. Because sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do the thing, and then I get so buried into all of the things for it, and then I try it, and I'm like, I don't like it. So you can kind of get some starter kits for not too much, just to dip your toes in to see if it's something that you want to get into further. And I've been enjoying using the acrylic yarn because I don't have to worry too much about running out in the middle of a project, or I haven't had to, using the yarn, because you can get a decent amount of mileage on your balls of yarn. The roving kits, the roving like sample things of like X number of colors they send you like a floss bag size of roving, and I wasn't able to reorder any of the colors. It was just like, here. I was like, but what if I run out? And I'm like, if I run out, it's like, oh well. So I couldn't really do this project using that, because we are working, and it might be hard to tell, but this piece of craft felt is 9 by 12, and I've kind of sectioned off an approximately 8 by 10 area that we are working inside of. So it's not like a 4 by 4 mini bit here. We're working on a good sized piece of felt here, because I've found that while possible, attempting to scale down Bob's stuff gets really hard because he works so big. So by comparison, like, he's working, what is it, 16 by 24, something like that. He's working on a good sized chunk of canvas there. So even when we were painting along, it was a little struggle bussy because I was working on like a 4 by 4 square. So that's why I have my guidelines in also, so I know where to cut off, what I still need to remember to put in and things. And it's okay if we, you know, make adjustments to those guidelines as we go, because as the fluff goes in, you know, the guidelines disappear or start to disappear. Yeah, we are still, I don't know if I'm pulling up on that section. Felt's gonna felt, man. We'll see. We still have a bit more fiber to pull in. Maybe it'll right itself. We might just have to straighten it up a little bit when we cut. I was really hoping the key was the tape. The key seemed to be the tape plus the thicker felt. Live and learn, right? I guess. We will see how things go. So I'm just trying to get our fluff sorted here. For our Hi Lady side. Give me 1 second. I need to take off this headband because I think it's trying to give me a headache today, and I really don't want a headache today. Like, I ain't got time for this today. No headaches today, please. And like, you can have your snow a little bit thicker in some spots. Just don't forget that you want some breaks in there. Alright, I'm just gonna pop that up gently. I'm just gonna pull off a wispy bit. And just, you know, do your best to kind of pull your little fibery guys apart from each other. And then just kind of lay it in where you want it to be. It's hard to make the little fibery bits show up on camera when we're pulling them apart. You can kind of see them as we're stabbing them in here. Kind of, sort of. I'm just scraping the surface. I haven't stabbed in. You stab in and pull, you're going to snap your needle. So just kind of surface scrape. I think like you're scraping toast with a knife. Just surface. Sorry, that was the best descriptor I could come up with. Gently. Now, I tend to brush down the back of my pieces as I go. I just find it helps the front lay a little bit flatter. Keeps like valleys from showing up sometimes. Alright, that's not too bad. And I'm trying to, as we do our highlight and our shadow, I'm trying to put them in on the angles that I want like that side of the mountain to look like. It's like where the snow shadow is falling this way, the highlights coming this way. So just something to keep in mind. Now, do we do this guy or do we do this guy? Kind of want to hit up this guy next. Alright, I'm just gonna use this whole bit here and we will go from there. Okay. So, let's see. Peak's about there-ish. And I'm gonna overlap. I'm gonna try to overlap into our blue here just a little bit. just a teeny bit. Okay. And then we'll just follow our guideline on down in front of our little mini guy here. As best as we can. And don't worry about cutting off a little bit of this, because this guy is going to be, he's sitting in front. He should be cutting off a little bit of it. So don't worry too much. And you're basically going to just make whatever mountainy shapes you want in here, pretty much. Is what it's gonna come down to. And this guy's a little bit bigger, so he's gonna take a little more time. Little more patience. Just turning the mat every so often. Not a bad idea to do. All right. Gonna get some more fluff here. A little bit of water just to help tighten everybody up together. And just gonna work on attaching this guy. And again, I do apologize that I am sideways here. I know it's probably weird to look at, but I need to see what I'm doing. And this is a little bit easier to see. And it's perfectly fine to turn your art. Like, turn it. If you can't see it, turn it. Sometimes turning it helps you see things from different angles to help make your piece better. Sometimes it helps you keeping your, okay, hang on. Brain, stop. Think of the words. Sometimes turning your art also helps to keep your arm, hand, or whatever out of fresh paint or what have you, whatever you're working on. Sorry, I got stuck on the same word there. Sometimes it's easier to just try to reset my brain. Apologies. Happens. Words are hard, man. Especially when my brain's trying to do other things at the same time. So, will it be a carbon copy of Bob's? No. Have we come close to kind of looking similar to Bob's? Yeah. We get the idea. Similar, yeah. Exact, no, because we're not using the same medium, so it's not going to look exact. Backside's looking pretty nice there. Alrighty. So, let's work on getting our next bit of fluff on in here. I also love textures. So, well, some textures I like. Some textures I'm like, oh god, no, they give me the chills. But the texture of the fluff, the acrylic yarn that we have combed out, brushed out to its pre-twisted state. A lot of it's so soft. It just kind of, I don't know, it's fluffy. And I love touching it when it's like this. Just kind of feels like you're playing with clouds or cotton candy that's not sticky. It kind of looks like cotton candy when it's in the bags, right? Like, don't eat it. This is not edible. But, reminds me of, I grew up in South Jersey. And, we didn't go to the boardwalk that much when I was little. But the husband and I would start going there for like every so often, like to celebrate our birthdays or our anniversary or something, and just like walking down the boardwalk and all the vendors that would sell cotton candy, the different shops and stuff, and just seeing all the bags of the different colored fluffy things. It just kind of reminds me of that. I don't like being sticky, so and cotton candy will melt if we get it wet. But it's like, yeah, we get to play with clouds here. Clouds of color. I was always so fascinated by those bags of different colored cotton candy hanging up that I have our rooms. This house is very strange. So our room has what was once a doorway that somebody decided was not going to be a doorway anymore and decided to close off this room to only have one entrance and exit from it to the rest of the house. And so they put a piece of wood covering the doorway. And then they put shelving or more wood to make shelves in it. And it's not very deep. It's like the depth of a doorway. And didn't really quite know what to do with it, because I can't really store that much stuff on it because Cow gets into everything and is climbing and knocks stuff off. So I took this nylon cord that we had laying around that we had gotten for a different project that didn't work out. And I was like, well, I have this string. I'm not using it. Might as well use it for something, right? So we put some nails on either side of this, what was once a doorway. And ran some string that I tied to each of the nails, kind of like a little clothesline. And so I've got all of our bags of fluff, our yarn colors, our colorful non-sticky clouds hanging up there. And it's so much fun to look at, to see all the rainbows of colors of fluff. It amuses me greatly. It's silly, but it makes me happy. Alright, our mountain range is coming together. For sure. Okay. So I kind of have like a line here, so we're gonna take our mountain color and start here now and work down, because we've got a large highlight side on this one. Okay. So what's everybody up to today? Everybody having a good day? How was everybody's weekend? What did you all do? Anything fun? Did you have to work all weekend? Tell me, how's it been going? Anybody getting ready to go back to school in the fall? I know the parents around here are starting to get a little over school supply lists. I thought they said they were supposed to be emailed to the parents or put up on the school's website, but I keep seeing them on one of the town Facebook pages. I need the school supply list. Does anybody have it? And I'm like, if some people have it, why don't you have it? I need to bring this down a little bit further. Okay, and then since we just have this little bitty wisp of a tail, just gonna fold that up. And then just work it in up in here. It wasn't worth snipping. Not when I had space that I could add it into. Alrighty. So that's not looking half bad. Sorry, needed a drink. Okay. Now this is not a mountain, this is going to be like a foothill. So we only have 4 mountains in this section. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Where'd you go? Okay. Thought I lost it to the abyss that is the floor under my desk. That's a scary place. Dust bunnies run wild down there, yo. Like, we changed out the rug that was under my desk that helps keep my chair from rolling away, because the floors aren't level in here. And the last rug was, I really wanted to use it, but it was just too small, and I made do with it for a while, but I reached my breaking point with it and almost tripped. So I'm like, okay, we're done with this. So the new one, we switched it out, and after switching it out, now I'm finding bits of colored fluff that had gotten away from me when we've been doing this, but I hadn't used that color since we had changed out the rug. So I'm like, where did you come from? Like, that's the creepiest thing about it. My husband's like, it looks like your yarn fuzz when I picked up something off the floor. I'm like, what the hell is this? And he took it from me and he's looking at it. He goes, yeah, it's some kind of yarn fluff. Oh, I'm like, it's hunter green. Okay. Because you even know the color. He goes, that's pretty sad. I'm like, yeah. I vaguely remember that a bit of that color getting away from me. But I thought I had picked it up, so I'm confused as to now why we're finding it. Even after we switched out the rug, you would have thought we would have seen it when we were down there switching things out. Okay. So yeah, that's just gonna be a little bit bowed out there, I guess. That's frustrating. Alright. I was so hopeful that the tape was our key. That's alright. The next time I need to get the next time I need to get felt, we'll get the thicker pieces when we're doing the more square projects. After we're done this season, we're done this one, we will be done this season of Joy of Painting tutorials. We might do a flamingo. And then we'll probably... Actually, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do the flamingo. We might be diving into the husband's Christmas present, because I need to start that early to make sure it's done on time. Because we didn't get Chungus done on time last year. I think I finished him New Year's Day. And I felt really bad about that, but we also got a late start on him. I didn't start him until like the 1st of December. I don't know yet what I'm doing for my mom, the mother-in-law, or her sister. I'm still not sure if her sister's gonna be here for Christmas. Husband's like, you don't have to do anything. I'm like, I feel obligated to do something if they're here. I just don't know what that's going to be yet. I don't know if we are painting. I don't know what all that's gonna entail. I'm thinking about painting. Potentially. But I need photos so I can try to make myself a paint by number reference to transfer onto the canvas. I had briefly thought about trying to needle felt it. I don't think I'd have time, even if it is a small thing. And I don't know if I can get it to look right. Alright. We will, I guess, figure that out when the mother-in-law comes back in September. She is in a different state at the moment with her one sister. We are still very much on taking care of problems with the house duty. Alright, this one I am going to trim. Oh, okay. So if you have to trim or want to trim any tails of extra fluff, try not to cut your project. So be careful. Try not to cut you. And then I would suggest coming back in and stabbing at the area that you just trimmed, just to try to make sure any loose ends from where you trimmed get worked back in. Just to keep them from being loose and problematic later. Because you never know. Alrighty. So we'll get this worked into here. So what's your guys' favorite art medium? What brought you here today? Curious about needle felting. Curious about Bob Ross. Bob Ross fan. What brought you guys here today? So we've almost got that side in. We just have a little bit more right there. So our top edge is a little wonky. That's okay. It's gonna be like that. We will fix that up in the end. We've got a dowel rod, a half dowel rod, split dowel rod. I think they call them half dowel rods, where one side is flat. And then that will get attached up here. And we won't see the weird little uneven edge up there. Now our sides might be a little uneven and a little wobbly. It happens a fair bit. The last one we did didn't happen so much, but I think it was because we had the thicker craft felt. So this is a thinner, classic, standard piece of craft felt. So I think that's what's going on here. Or seems to be from our experimenting. I'm really kicking myself in the nuts for not getting more of that, but it is what it is. And now we know. But I will say, I've got some embroidery hoops that I want to use as our hanger for a couple pieces coming up. And I do not think the thicker stuff would go into my embroidery hoop very well. I had a hard enough time getting the felt in there. So, like the thinner felt, excuse me. So that's gonna be a little bit interesting. I think it rained this morning. I'm not certain, but it seemed really dark at one point when I woke up. And it felt like it should have been lighter than it was. And I thought I saw some water drops on the one window because the cat had moved what we're using for a curtain so you could see a little bit out the window. And that struck me as odd because I didn't really remember them saying it was supposed to rain last night. Well, we were supposed to have thunderstorms at one point yesterday, and then we never did, and they took it away. And then we had a sun shower when I was making dinner. Like, the sun was out, and I was making dinner, and I went to go get a bottle of water, and I looked out the window, and I was like, why is everything wet? Like, did it rain? And my mom came in from outside. She's like, we just had a sun shower. I was like, oh, so much for it not raining today. I mean, it wasn't very long. It was fairly brief. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a gap right here. I'm gonna fill that in. I thought I did, but then I wasn't sure if I was seeing stuff. So sometimes you'll see me like try to inspect an area a little bit more closely. It's because I'm not sure if I actually covered that spot. You know, you'll get like thin spots and gaps show up sometimes as you go. It happens, it's not unusual. If you have that happen, just go back and fill it in. Fix it up. And you'll be good to go. We just didn't get that section quite filled in enough. Alright. Let me see here. That's pretty good. Okay. So we're going to grab our light blue. Well, our sky color, really. We're gonna pull our fibers apart here a little bit. Maybe kind of think of when you would buy those bags of fake spider webs for like Halloween decorating, or if you just have spooky home decor. Like how you would pull them apart. You want them much thinner and a bit more pulled apart than you necessarily would for that, but kind of like the same sort of idea. Sort of, just thinner. Alright, and we will start to fill in our snow shadows on this side. So I know it might not seem like it, but we have made a little bit of progress today. We're not doing too bad. What's the matter, Moses? It's not quite time for dinner yet. You still have a half hour, my guy. Well, we thought it was the grass messing with his pH, but now we don't think so. We haven't let him have grass in a couple of days, and it's still kind of back and forth, so... It might just simply be that it's taking a while to get the crystals out of his system. Okay. Yeah. Uh-oh, where'd it go? There it is. So thin. I lost track of it. Alright. Kind of wanted a little bit more shadow in there. Okay, so don't worry too much about this line in here. I mean, we want to worry about it a little bit, but it's okay if things aren't entirely perfect down here, because our trees that are going to go in down there, they will come up a little bit taller. So we have, this is our reference sketch that we did. We've got our hill here, right? And we've got one set of trees kind of hanging out into here. They're going to come this way, and they're going to come up over the bottom edge of our mountain. So this bottom edge on the mountain doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to have fluff sitting on top of it. And then we've got another bit of tree in here. We're still a little ways from that. But that's why I'm not fretting the bottom edge there being 100% spot on. It might take a few tries to grab your pulled apart fluff strands, whatever fluff you might be using. Sometimes I have found when I pull them apart, it can be a little hard to grab them. Happens, you know, just take a breath, take a second, and then come back in. Don't get frustrated. Just slow down. And sometimes you might need to feel around with your finger or try to move the fluff back and forth to see if anybody's not anchored. See, like right there, it's probably not showing on camera, but I can see fluff moving right in there. So we still have to tap in there. And sometimes a little extra tapping isn't a bad thing, because it can help you define those breaks in your shadows so that your mountain color is gonna pop on through. Because when you're working with the more pulled apart strands, some of them will seem like they just kind of melt and disappear, and some of them will be in a little bit thicker of a spot, and their color will be a little bit denser. and they will stand out a little bit more. Okay. So I'm gonna scrape just to kind of get this position. Remember, scraping the surface, like you're kind of like scraping crumbs off your toast with your knife. Don't stab it, scrape it. And you can help move your fluff bits around before they're attached that way. Or if you've got it attached in one spot and you want to fan it out in another that hasn't been attached yet, you can kind of help get them into the position that you want them to be in before you start stabbing them. That is looking very nice. And it's starting to look even better the more of these guys that we've got put in here. It's starting to look like a real mountain range now. Okay. Remember, we don't want the sides to be our solid highlight or shadow color, because then it's just going to look like weirdly shaped triangles. Unless that's what you want. But if you're trying to get your mountain color to shine through and kind of have your breaks in your snow, then you don't want it to be a solid triangle. Alright, a little bit more of our light blue color here. Just trying to shape this into something that we can work with a little bit easier. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So, pop that off of there. You can kind of see our shadow and our highlight on the back side of it pretty good. So that's kind of fun. Alright, let's get our next bit of blue fluff figured out here. Getting tricky to see it for me. Okay. We'll get that attached into there. Okay, that looks pretty okay. I think I need just another sliver of blue right in here. Now, after our trip, we're gonna try to replace this yellow light here. The other ring light just wasn't doing it for me, and I couldn't have it on the white shades because it made this horrific buzzing that sounded like the biggest mosquito ever. And that just wasn't gonna work because the husband was starting to hear it, and I'm like, okay, if he can hear it across the room now, then the microphone's definitely gonna pick it up, and that sound is annoying. And considering it's an LED light, it shouldn't have been doing that, but it was. But it was also on clearance when I bought it, so it might have been why it was on clearance. So, but we found a panel light that might work a little bit better. We're just not going to be able to get it until we come back. So it might be a Christmas present. Alright, so that needs to go in the bucket. I think I'm going to put, well, I don't know if we're using that one yet, so. And you're going to go in your bucket. And okay. So we tend to repurpose the litter, the containers that we get our kitty litter in, or at least the containers we were getting it in. It looks like Sam's might be discontinuing the litter we were using, which we're not happy about. But it left us with these buckets that our recycling won't take because of the type of plastic they are, and I'm like, okay, now what? So we've got stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of them. Husband's uncle-in-law, I guess, was taking some of them, but we still have a bunch of them, so we've been repurposing them for different things, using them as our recycling our recycling containers in the house, in the kitchen, that we then just march outside and sort it outside. So that way I don't have to run every single thing outside at every single moment. And we've also used quite a number of them for storage. We don't really have room for like a proper dresser with drawers to put unmentionables in and all that, so we actually don't even have a closet. We're storing our clothes in like huge ass plastic bins and on a floor shelving unit, stand-up shelves, and I've got the rest of my clothes like stacked on top of the other clothing bins. So like our socks and other unmentionables are in a couple of those containers because they've got lids that will close, so yay. And then the rest of them we've been using for storage because there's like no closets in this house. There's 2.5 closets in this entire house. One is in the mother-in-law's bedroom, which is, it's not like a walk-in closet, but it's like about the size of a closet that would have like the accordion door on it. Like 2 of those that would meet in the middle kind of thing. And then the other one is just like a basic tiny ass closet. And the half closet's in our bathroom. It's not even a full closet. Because the ductwork for the heat and air conditioning had to go through the bottom of that closet, I guess. This house is strange, guys. So we use a lot of those containers for storage. So I'm using one of those containers to hold all of our bags of colorful clouds that we are using here. Because like we can't recycle them here. They won't take the type of plastic they are. And we feel really bad when we have to get rid of a bunch of them. Which we're going to end up doing soon. But since they discontinued the type of cat litter that we were getting, or it seems that they've discontinued it, they clearanced it. Unless they're coming up with new packaging. I don't know. I don't think we'll be having any more of those. So we have to figure out if we want to hold on to some of them for later. Because, I mean, they're small, so if you have small stuff that you can store, it's great because you've got the lid on them. You don't have to worry about a cardboard box disintegrating on you. And it seems to take... these guys can take a bit of a beating. We've had some outside using for like smaller recycling bits, like soup cans or whatnot. And they hold up for a few seasons before the bottoms like completely crack on them and stuff, so I've been fairly happy with them. And they stack, which is nice. The only thing is they're not see-through, so you kind of have to put labels of what you've put in there and make sure you keep the label up to date. If you want to have an easier time of finding your stuff. I'm gonna be sad when we run out of those containers, but yet also happy because they take up a shit ton of room when we're not using them. I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with these containers. That's a little bit further into that than I wanted it to be. Alright. Now I will say I've not had any issues with my needle bending using this kind of mat. We're using one from Wool Buddy, not sponsored. In fact, I managed to rip the tag off of the front of it, so I could get rid of that silly piece of tape that I had over the name, because I didn't want people to think we were sponsored, because we're not. And I've seen some people say it's because of the type of mat that you're using, where your needles will bend, and other people say it's because you're not going straight in, up and down. But I've never encountered that issue. So I don't know if we're just lucky or what. So we're looking pretty good there. Get a drink. It is getting closer to dinner time here. I am starving. My mom wanted pancakes for dinner, so I guess we'll do pancakes, bacon, and I don't know, we might do cinnamon rolls, we might do home, are they home fries? I guess they'd be kind of just roasted chunks of potato. I don't know yet. I have to see. I have a couple rolls, a couple tubes of cinnamon rolls that I want to use up. I'm not sure if I'm in a potato-y mood tonight, because the potatoes take a little bit of time. Like, both things have to go in the oven, but the cinnamon rolls don't go in quite as hot of an oven. So I gotta think about it. What's the temperature? It's 88. I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, I could make the potatoes. I have to see if the potatoes we have are still good, though. I guess that's where we should really start. Because if they've gone funky, then that kind of answers that question or puts an end to that debate. Okay, thank you, Loud Vehicle, for your input. I guess. Alright, so this piece was a little bit longer that we kind of tossed into here. Make sure that we are good and secure. Alrighty. Let me gently peel that up. Alright. Brush down the back. Okay. We are coming along very nicely. Very, very nicely. So I think tomorrow, when we pick this back up, we will be finishing up putting in our mountain color on this side, and then we'll put our highlight in, and then we'll have one more mountain to go. And that one's a smaller guy, so he shouldn't take too much time. So I think we'll be finishing our mountains tomorrow and maybe starting the background color, our snow color on our foothill before we start putting our trees in, is where I think we'll be tomorrow. Or at least that's where I would like us to be tomorrow. So I might take this section. Well, technically this is all the way down into here. Okay, this line was just so I knew where placement was. So yeah, we might end up. Wow, that is really. I was really hoping that would get pulled back in as we were working over there, but it hasn't. That makes me sad. So when we go to trim, I'll probably start at the furthest in corner and then come down that way. This side's not too bad for some reason. I don't know why. I always have trouble with this side. But that is something we will have to deal with later when we get there, because we're nowhere near ready to trim the edges. But I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me this afternoon. Do appreciate it. Hope everybody's enjoyed their weekend. No bonus stream tonight. I am going to be doing some recording of Bear and Breakfast for the YouTube channel this week. It won't be going up yet, but I'm going to have to do that, so there probably won't be a bonus stream this week. I'm sorry for that, but life's been busy. So I hope to see everybody tomorrow when we pick back up on this guy. If not, you can follow the socially links down below. That'll take you to the X, Twitter, the Ko-fi, the Instagram, and the YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is where we archive just about all of the live streams. So if you missed it and the VOD's already gone off of here, you can go back over there. I'm batching them onto YouTube now, so at the end of the week, I will take all of the live streams from that week and then schedule them through the course of, you know, that week after those live streams. Then they'll be going up one a day on YouTube. You know, providing I put the right time on them. I thought I had put the right time on them this week, and something happened, and some were going up at like midnight, and I'm like, no. So, that was fun. But, yeah, so we'll archive those over there. And there is a specific needle felting playlist in case you wanted to see any past projects that we've done, or want to see how I prep the yarn for felting. So I'm gonna go make dinner. You guys have a good night. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. And until next time, everybody.